Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, your good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful September the 4th, 2019. Rondo Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, I was rambling last night at some hot baseball being played, but even more hotter tennis being played at the U.S. Open. I mean, just some marvelous matches going on in Flushing Meadows, New York. If you don't love tennis, you need to turn it on and watch it.
Yeah, you got to turn it on and watch it. There's a lot of things you can turn on and watch, whether it's football, basketball, and baseball. Just so many things to be happy about in the sports universe. And everybody knows, if you want to swing the bat, football kicks off tomorrow, NFL style. And we'll bring it to you also on Big C Sports. You think about Serena Williams. She became the 4th player, male or female, to win 100 matches of any one major. And I really love what she's done in the world of tennis. And we'll talk about that just shortly. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So Big C, when you think about what she's done to become 100, if anything, 100 matches is a lot. It may not seem like a lot because everybody talks about 200, 300, 400, but to win 100 of anything is amazing. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, she's had a stellar career, Charlton. She's won all the majors that a woman can win on the professional circuit. She's won matches from tying Margaret Court for 24 for the all-time lead, Charlton. And, you know, she's come up short in her last 4 finals that she's been in.
Yep.
And she's cruised into the semifinals here at the U.S. Open, hoping for that chance to tie Margaret Court at number 24.
Yeah, and she'll probably get that done. It's all fair in love and war. I do want to say Big C Sports is brought to you by Google. And Alexa, just say Google. Play Big C Sports Podcast. Or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast, and you'll see our platform come up, and then you'll hear our advertisers. You'll hear, welcome to the show. I'll introduce Big C as the mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors for all their support. Also, Big C, I know sometimes, you know, in life, you just got to have a backup plan. I don't think anyone drives around without a spare tire in their car. If anyone's going through any issues, especially for our veterans, I love paying homage to our veterans. Not just saying our thoughts and prayers, that's usually after something happens. But if you have any issues, anybody in life, pick up the phone. If you're a veteran or anybody going through something, dial 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. Big C, I know POTUS has been talking about red flag laws. And if you find someone who's going in buying ammunition and then body armor and then explosive, that's a red flag. Call it in to enforcement. But sometimes things are more subdued than that. They just have people who have issues. Why is it so important that you want to breathe this 800 number for all of our veterans and anybody else going through drama? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this 1-800 number that we give out, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, Charlton, is very important for society, especially when we think about all the Americans that are going through certain issues in their lives, and especially the veterans, Charlton, that have come back from fighting overseas in the wars that we have put on from this country for decades.
Yep.
And they don't see any way to get help. And, you know, so many of them have so much pride, Charlton, that they don't like to discuss their issues.
Yeah.
Which is a ticking time bomb within itself. Everybody needs an outlet in life.
Oh, yeah.
And for those veterans or anybody else who is suffering through mental issues and just, you know, everyday stress, don't hesitate in reaching out and calling the National Suicide Hotline number.
Yeah.
Just to have a conversation, if nothing else. Just to have that person that is willing to listen to you, to listen to your problems and not wanting to hear anything else but you, and you become personal to them.
Amen to
you know,
that.
This is a great way to help Americans out. Don't hesitate.
Yeah, just pick up the call, pick up the phone and make that call. I want to say somebody else who picked up the phone and made the call. You know, We talk about this all the time. $100 million. Now, for athletes, that's becoming like, what's your name? $100 million. I remember growing up as a young boy watching league majors. There was a show called The $6 Million Man. I guess he was an astronaut, and I guess he had a crash on some type of speed, I guess test spaceship or whatever it was, and they built him bigger, stronger, and faster. It was only $6 million. You have guys that won't even come to practice for $6 million. So Jared Goff signs a 4-year extension with the Los Angeles Rams, $110 million, Big C, guaranteed. Last I saw Goff, he was at the Super Bowl, and he couldn't even get a touchdown. They had a hard time performing. How does he get $110 million as the most valuable product on the Rams, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that is the going price today for the price of quarterbacks when you think about it in the NFL. The $100 million is the status quo for an NFL starting quarterback, alleged franchise quarterback. And when you think about Jared Goff signing that extensive deal today with the Los Angeles Rams, Carson Wentz signed a deal a month or so ago with the Philadelphia Eagles. You have Jimmy Garoppolo, who signed a massive deal with the San Francisco 49ers 2 years ago. You have, who else is out there? Your cousin in Minnesota signed that guaranteed $84 million deal. You got Derek Carr out there in Oakland, who has a $125 million deal.
Yeah.
One of the things about quarterbacks in the NFL, Charlton, you pay on potential. Although Carson Wentz and Jared Goff have both been to the Super Bowl, when you think about Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, and
Stafford,
Kirk Cousins, none of them, well, Garoppolo went to the Super Bowl as a backup with the Patriots, but with their current rosters, none of them has produced such success, Charlton, as starters.
No.
So, but in the NFL, running backs have to fight for money, for productivity that they've already done.
All the time.
Showing that they still have it.
Yep.
And they got to get the money when they're young. You're not going to give a 30-year-old running back a $50 million contract. You will give a 30-year-old quarterback a $100 million contract.
Yeah.
So it's odd that a running back has to carry the workload where he's touching the ball 400 times, 450 times during the season, just as much as a quarterback does, but he's not as valuable to a team, they say, economically.
That's true, and it's crazy. Now, when you think about Jared Goff, I remember him coming out. He's out of the North Bay and ended up going to Cal Berkeley. He's always been a skinny kid, kind of like Popeye the Sailor Man, but he doesn't have a lot of spinach to make him get bigger, stronger, and faster. He's never really added on size-wise. But this is as someone looking from the outside looking in. People can say, well, that's the going standard. As an NFL player, why is Jared Goff getting $100 million guaranteed? Ezekiel Elliott's only getting $50 million guaranteed. We'll talk about him. But no one in the universe can justify Jared Goff being more valuable to the Rams than Elliott is to the Cowboys. When Todd Gurley was injured, and people can Google this, when Todd Gurley was injured for the Super Bowl and could not perform, the Rams scored 3 points. They lost 13-3. Their defense did their job, Big C, holding New England to 13 points. And you think about Goff as their leader, because when you think about Gurley getting injured, people kept saying, well, why is he playing Gurley? There must be something wrong with him. Well, Goff became the leader, Big C, by fiat, not by design. He was 19 of 38, 229 yards, 1 interception, and 0 touchdowns. 50% completion rate in the biggest game of his life, and that got him $100 plus $10 million. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, also in the Super Bowl, you got to remember that Brandon Cook dropped one in the end zone that he was wide open, that Jared Goff dropped a dime on him. You know, the thing about football, it is a team game. And as we look around the disparity as far as salaries, how they're structured, quarterbacks have always made more money than anybody else. Everyone is saying because he is the trigger man, he deserves more money. He is the reason why an offense clicks. He is the guy making the calls. When you think about a quarterback in the huddle, the quarterback has to know all 11 positions on offense, what everybody is doing. The running back really needs to know what 5 guys are doing in front of him, the offensive line.
Yeah.
The quarterback needs to know what the offensive line is doing, the running backs are doing, and the receivers and tight ends. So when you think about the responsibility that's put on a quarterback, he's technically the head coach on the field when he's out there, just like the middle linebacker. Middle linebackers get as much money as running backs do nowadays.
Yeah.
So when you think about how they both control each side of the ball, Jared Goff is just a guy, you're paying him right now to not pay him later.
Yeah.
If you wait till the new collective bargaining agreement comes after the 2020 season, the quarterback position will go up expeditiously. When Patrick Mahomes gets ready to sign a new contract, he will get $40 million. We're talking about quarterbacks getting $30, $32 million right now.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes will start at $40 million a year when he negotiates his new contract after the next season. So right now you pay these quarterbacks, it's basically a bargain what they're giving the quarterbacks on the money now, the $30 million.
Yeah.
Because if you wait 2 more years, it's going to be $150 million instead of $100 million.
Well, there's amazing there. You know how we talk about value and pay me now or pay me later. There was a commercial with the great Nick Saban, your friend, head coach Alabama, and he was selling life insurance. I said, is times that hard on Nick? He's selling life insurance down Dixie. He was in front of his family, African-American family, of course. I'm sure he was waiting to recruit their kid. And I think the kid's family was from California, okay? Nick comes to California to recruit, and he held up his fingers after telling the people how they should sign with him. And the woman was mesmerized by the 6 rings that he had on his finger. And I feel that's what guys like Tom Brady must feel like when they see people like Goff signing for more money than they have. But it's amazing. Ezekiel Elliott, you think about him. He extends his contract 6 years, $50 million guaranteed. That pushes him close to $100 million also. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you got to feel for Ezekiel Elliott. You think about how the Cowboys have stood by him and all the trouble that he has been in.
Yeah.
And the NFL hasn't suspended him for more time than what he's gotten.
Yeah.
So Ezekiel Elliott really got a break with this deal with Jerry Jones because Jerry Jones did not have to succumb to this. He actually could have franchised Ezekiel Elliott in the next 2 years. He had another year left. He had 2 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
He could have franchised him for the next 2 years after that. So if anybody's going to be happy about the deal that occurred is Ezekiel Elliott, because Dallas could have really got him at a bargain basement price for the next 2 years. They did not have to do the contract extension. Jerry Jones did the contract extension, even though all the off-season trouble that he's been in.
Yeah.
He should be thankful more than anybody about what he's gotten.
Let me bring that point a little bit deeper, because I think when Jerry Jones was saying, I think I've earned the right to joke with Ezekiel Elliott, there's a lot of men who've been in trouble in life for whatever reason. And there's always some people you call to get you out. And I'm sure Ezekiel called a lot of people. But Jerry Jones, he has the right connections to make it easier on the young man. We all need that kind of favor in life. So I think he did get off on the right hand. At the other hand, I want to ask you this. And you brought it up before, so that's why it comes to my mind right now. I know people don't want to talk about race in this country. Race is a part of everything we do. But for the Caucasian quarterbacks that get $100 million contracts, you never, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've never heard it put into the media about some guy not coming to camp because they won't give him his money. Like Goff versus Elliott. One guy's out in the public, press conference after press conference ad nauseum, and then Goff, he didn't do anything, but he didn't have to say anything yet, Big C. Why do they never have to argue for it? It's just given to them, Big C, your thoughts?
It's given to them, Charlton, because they control the position. When you think about it, the greatest athletes have to constantly negotiate for money.
Yeah.
And I don't care what sport you're in. The greatest athletes always have to hold out and set a precedence to get more money. When you look at the NFL, the greatest athletes in the NFL are African American.
Yeah.
The most prized athletes on any team are African American. Jerry Jones even said it today that Ezekiel Elliott was the best player that they have on the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And for that nature, Charlton, because the African American athletes in the positions that they dominate, running back, wide receiver, tight end for the most part, defensive end, some linebacker positions, secondary, they always have to negotiate. But while they're negotiating, Charlton, there's generally someone out there that's just as good or almost as good as them.
Yeah.
Because they replace somebody. It's easier to replace an African-American athlete than it is a white athlete in the NFL.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you talk about race issues, hands down, in the NBA, it's the same way. It's easier to replace an African-American athlete head up versus a white athlete head up. The skill level is totally different.
Yeah.
And so the teams have looked at that as far as saving money, is that look at what happened in Pittsburgh last year. James Conner replaced Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell would have made $15 million if he had signed with the Steelers.
Yeah.
James Conner did not make $1 million. He was a running back who rushed for over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
That's how the business end of it is looked at in the NFL, is that I can replace this African-American player with another one who's just as close. It's just like the Chargers right now in negotiation with Melvin Gordon. They say, hey, go out and seek a trade.
Yeah.
We will replace you. There's a running back sitting behind every chair in a meeting room that's not playing, that's waiting to play, that's hungry. Teams don't miss running backs. Every great running back that you've seen in the NFL has been replaced. The productivity may not have been as good, but he was replaced. Kareem Hunt was replaced last year in Kansas City. Did Kansas City miss a beat? No, they didn't miss Kareem Hunt.
No.
Matter of fact, they've even upgraded this year with LaShawn McCoy, a guy that Andy Reid drafted in Philadelphia, who's going to really accentuate that offense. So when you look at the table and you see all the great African-American players, whether they've been suspended, cut, released, traded, whatever, they've always been replaced with another African-American player. And a white quarterback gets replaced by another white quarterback. That's generally the modus operandi of the NFL.
Nick Foles, when he replaced Carson Wentz because Wentz got injured, Nick Foles took the Eagles to the Super Bowl and then had success in the playoffs the following year. So they can be replaced too. But no matter what it is, the position, it just gets more money. Not that it should, but it does.
Look at who Nick Foles replaced. He replaced a white quarterback in two teams, in Philadelphia and in Jacksonville. If you look around the NFL, when you looked at San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo replaced a black quarterback. Not a black quarterback replacing a black quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo, a white quarterback, replaced him. And so that's been around the NFL as it's gone. When Sam Darnold went to New York, he replaced a white quarterback.
Yeah.
When Josh Rosen went to Miami, he replaced a white quarterback.
Yeah.
This is what happens in the NFL. They go white for white.
It's amazing because race always matters in something, and they want to keep that position Caucasian, because if they don't, you'll have teams looking like NBA, and I don't think the NFL wants that. The Chicago Bears, they unveiled a new statue of the great running back Walter Payton and the founder George Halas. And to me, they called him Sweetness maybe because of the way he ran, but there's something about Walter. He worked out so hard, and I still remember how they gave Refrigerator Perry the chance to score a touchdown on the goal line instead of Walter Payton in the Super Bowl of all places against the Patriots. And I know that Mike Ditka still regrets that, Big C. Your thoughts on the trophy?
Oh, yeah, he always regretted that move, and he spoke about it. Walter never said anything about it. You talk about a great person, man, individual. Walter Payton was. It wasn't about him. He knew the Super Bowl was about the city of Chicago and then the Bears secondary.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl, it would have been great for any player to score a touchdown. But Walter understood that it was a team game.
Yeah.
He didn't go to the sideline and say, hey, give me the ball, let me score. I've worked all these years to get there. He rose to the pinnacle, Charlton, of being a Super Bowl champ, which every NFL player wants to be.
Yeah.
He also was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame prior to his death, Charlton, unfortunately, a few years back.
Yeah.
But Walter Payton was about greatness. And when you talk about sweetness, it was about his mannerism as a man, his character as a man, and his playing style as a football player and appreciation from his teammates.
Yeah.
He was enjoyed by everybody. When you think about George Halas, the founder of the Chicago Bears, Charlton, he was what the NFL became.
Yep.
He had a foresight what this league should become today, and this league has risen to it. The team is still owned by one of his daughters, Jean McCaskill, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when you think about George Halas as a coach in the NFL, as an owner in the NFL, he epitomized what this league stands for.
I tell you what, I just remember as a young man growing up, there were running backs that you emulate. Franco Harris, of course, Jim Brown, Gale Sears. But then you look at sweetness, and I think every kid can relate to that. But when it comes to NFL, we talked about golf, getting $110 million guaranteed, and then Elliott getting $50 million guaranteed. Would you believe your friend, I think your yacht not quite as big as Jerry's yacht, Big C, but think about why his yacht is so big. The Dallas Cowboys, when you think about players getting paid, the Dallas Cowboys have spent $313 million on 4 key players this offseason alone. and no money on Dak Prescott. Will that make him compete for the Super Bowl? Why? We talked about quarterbacks getting their money, irrespective of what color they are, Big C. The white guys get paid first, and they never have to have a media battle about why not. Prescott's still the second winningest active quarterback in the last 3 years in the NFL, and he hasn't gotten his money yet. Maybe it's going to come. Sometimes it's best to buy the car last day of the month. It may be best to sign the contract the last week before the kickoff. But we're kicking off this week, and there's still no contract for Prescott. Your thoughts?
Well, Zach's going to get paid. You got to think about Amari Cooper. There's not even any talk about him in Dallas getting any money.
Yeah.
So when you think about how many players can you pay, you sign the offensive line. The offensive line is in place. That way Zeke can come back and be comfortable running behind his full complement of offensive linemen. Zach Prescott is still there as a quarterback. Zach's going to be compensated one way or another. You either pay him now, get him at a discount deal, or if you wait till next year, his money will go up to $35 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a calculated risk you have to take as the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
There's only so much money that you can extend out there. Do you want to put a contract extension on it, or do you want to give him a whole new contract?
Yeah.
However you structure it, even with Ezekiel Elliott, it's a contract extension. The money doesn't kick in to next year. Jared Goff, the money doesn't kick in to next year on Jared Goff. It looks good right now when the media is talking about it.
Yeah.
But you have to understand what they say. When they say contract extension, that means you're still operating under your same contract that you have already. They put that contract on the back end of what you have. And just like with Jared Goff, you give him a contract extension now, you save $10 million a year when that rookie contract runs out.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott, same thing. You give him the contract extension now, you may save $6 to $10 million a year once that rookie contract runs out. Carson Wentz is in the same boat. So it's not actual money that you're seeing right now. It's money that's predicated for a year to two down the road.
Yeah, and we know when you got Jerry Jones type of bank account, that money will be good. I want to bring up something that's a little bit different for the world of sports, Big C. Sometimes when the media shows up, everybody wants to take your picture. But think about this. The NFL's all-suspended team. That means the guys that got suspended, Big C. This is Big C's NFL's all-suspended team. And these guys can take a nice picture for this team, Big C, for the opening of the 2019 season. It's amazing. Patrick Peterson, cornerback for the Cardinals. Alex Redmond, offensive line Bengals. Antonio Galloway, wide receiver for the Browns. Kareem Hunt, running back for the Browns. You have Randy Gregory, defensive end for the Cowboys. Robert Quinn, defensive end for the Cowboys. Chad Kelly, quarterback for the Colts. And before I read the rest off, I want to get your thoughts on if this is a good or a bad thing, because you know people like bad boys, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this lets you know how the NFL can move on without players. You're talking about players that are suspended. We talk about minimum of 4 games at the start of the season. And we're talking about players that are signing contract extensions and, getting ready for opening kickoff starting on Thursday night, full slate of games on Sunday. But these are players that were starters in the NFL, and they're going to be suspended and not on teams' rosters from anywhere from 4 to 8 games starting the 2019 season. And we talked about how easy it is to replace players.
Yeah, it's amazing when you just think about the list, because you don't really hear it outside of Big C Sports. And then you have Morris Claiborne, cornerback, the Chiefs. DeAnthony Thomas, wide receiver, the Chiefs. Aaron Neary, center for the Rams. You have Holton Hill, cornerback for the Vikings. Benjamin Watson, tight end for the Patriots. David Oyeniba, I think I said his name right, defensive tackle for the Saints. Golden Tate, wide receiver for the Giants. Chris Herndon, tight end for the Jets. Brandon Copeland, linebacker for the Jets. Richie Incognito for the Raiders, the guard. You have Nevin Lawson, cornerback Raiders. Jared Reed, defensive tackle Seahawks. Ryan Smith, cornerback Buccaneers. And the last one, Taylor Lewan, tight end, tackle for the Titans. That's enough people to make up a team offensively and defensively. Why so many people suspended, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charles, when we're talking about all pro players here in this list that you're looking at, guys who were starters and contributed to their rosters that they were on last year and expected to be contributors at the start of this season, Pro Bowl players.
Yeah.
So when you think about the suspensions that NFL players have gotten, we got NFL players being suspended for performing as hazardous drugs, Charlton, getting in legal problems off the field. all type of scenarios that have occurred, but majority of those are PEDs that they've been suspended for.
Yeah.
And when you think about these players, Charlton, what will their suspension, how will that affect their teams this upcoming season in the first quarter of the season?
Yeah.
You know, you think about if you lose a couple of games based on one of those players being out of the lineup, Charlton, because his replacement just could not hold up.
Yeah.
Think about the economic factor to an owner not making the playoffs, not moving forward. You miss the playoffs by 1 or 2 games, Charlton, because those players miss 1 or 2 games. You see how important starters are in the NFL now.
Let me get your thoughts, though. Now, if we know that, if that's Big C's all NFL, all suspended team, some of those guys are Pro Bowl, some are not. But if we know that there's bad boys, and everybody, there's nobody perfect. He who is without sin cast the first stone. Nobody would throw any stones. But how does the league build with this image? They're still the #1 sports show in the universe. Anything NFL football. And it's filled with bad boys. You know what that tells me, Big C? That the league loves bad boys. And so do the fans. That make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, that's what the Raider organization was built on under the great Al Davis. The bad boy image, Charlton. Being the guys that nobody else wanted, he brought them all in. And if the late Al Davis was still around, all those guys, he'd probably try to make a trade for and build a team. But you think about the image of the NFL, Charlton. We talked about athletes. We talked about athletes being replaced. No one will miss these players other than the team, Charlton. The fan is sitting there, and all he's doing is looking out there to see his 11 on this side and 11 on that side. That's what they're looking at. They want to see the star quarterback play. They want to see the star running back and receiver play. They want to see some great defensive play. But overall, they figure that they can compensate. And when you think about the number of players, we talked about it last week. There's over 1,000 players that lost jobs last week in the NFL after last Saturday. So players are replaced all the time, and we don't even remember it. I mean, you can sit back and think, wow, this guy used to be with that team. You will see that on Sunday, players that have moved franchises that are now active on new franchises. And you say, well, how did they let that player go? And then all of a sudden you'll see some young gun pops up, and he'll become having stardom material.
It's all about being ready, and when the time is right, guys will find an opportunity. They will always find an opportunity for you, but you got to be ready for it, and that's what I love about NFL football. You can replace people.
When you think about Jonathan 2 years ago when Tom Brady was suspended. That made Jimmy Garoppolo $137 million because he was ready. When Tom Brady was suspended for 4 games. Made Jacoby Brissett. He just got re-signed by Indianapolis. He's making the same amount of money that Ezekiel Elliott is making. So when you think about Tom Brady's suspension, has earned 2 quarterbacks $200 million by him being suspended 2 years ago. Suspension is not a bad thing for some players.
That's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing when you think about it. And think about players and what happened, especially at the quarterback position. For 2018, we talked about Goff getting that $110 million guaranteed contract coming up. In 2018, think about 5 quarterbacks teams. Jared Goff was 13-3. Carson Wentz 9-7. Kirk Cousins 6-9 in one tie. Jimmy Garoppolo 4-12 for the Niners. And then Derek Carr, the team went 4-12. I know Jimmy G didn't play in all the games. But for that season, would you believe that only one, actually 2 of those players, of those 5 players, had a winning season? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, those are the 2 that got the big contracts this year, Charlton, when you think about Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. You look at Jared Goff's ascension into the NFL. When he was drafted by the Rams, he was coached by Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher has destroyed a couple of quarterbacks. He destroyed Vince Young, and he was on route to destroy Jared Goff. He also destroyed Sam Bradford when he was the coach of the Rams, Charlton. So, and the Titans. Once they made a change at coach, Charlton, and brought in McVay, you could see Jared Goff's career take off. He just needed the right tutelage. And so they have paid him for the potential that he possessed. He's already gone to a Super Bowl in his 3rd year in the league. He has a bright future in front of him. And when you think about all the tools that the Rams possess, I mean, it's unlimited. He hasn't had any injuries like Carson Wentz has, who is yet to finish one of the last 2 seasons. Your cousin in Minnesota hasn't done much with the Redskins or the Vikings. And we look at Derek Carr. His career has been on the downslide the last 2 years. So when you think about paying these young quarterbacks, Charlton, it's a turkey shoot.
Well, think about 2017. The same teams went 13-3 with the Eagles. Jared Goff was 11-5 for the Rams. Kirk Cousins finished 7-9. Jimmy G was 6-10, and then Derek Carr 6-10. So just because you make $100+ million, it doesn't mean your team's going to win. When your team loses, oftentimes the media story, well, it's somebody else's fault. And when they win, they'll say, "Oh, can you believe that? How great is Green Bay lately? Not that great, even though everybody still loves Aaron Rodgers." And we do too, but that's all fair and love and war. What we're going to do is come up on what we call the Big C pause. We're going to take that pause, and we're going to come right back. We're going to talk more about college football, but I really want to start off with some Major League Baseball and some great things that are happening, and we hope that you'll come back and join us as well. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. And I just want to say there's so much going on in the sports universe. Really enjoy where we're going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports, brought to you by Google and Alexa. Just say, "Google, play Big C Sports Podcast." And you can say, "Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast." You see our platform come up, you hear from our sponsors, you hear "Welcome to the show." I'll introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate all the support. Big C, I want to look at a little bit of Major League Baseball. And you know, this time, going into next month, we'll be talking about playoffs. No more who's aligning themselves for the playoffs, but in the playoffs. James Paxton pitched one hit ball for 7 shutout innings. He struck out 12. That's a lot to do in one game. 12, and you think about his 7th straight start for the New York Yankees. Encarnacion hit a home run in his return as the Yankees bounced back in a big way, and they routed the Texas Rangers 10-1 on Tuesday night. This is a team of the Yankees that's been up and down. They've been shut out, and they also pound somebody 10-1. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Yankees have so much talent in their lineup, Charlton. You talk about the big bats. They just got Encarnacion back after having a broken wrist. Another one of those players that were on the injured list, Charlton, for several weeks. So you think about the yo-yo second half of the season that the Yankees have been having. They still have the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
But they're getting some big bats healthy. Their pitching is strong. They're going to be a tough team to contend with come October.
Yeah, they're always tough. But, it's baseball. Anyone can get shut out and bounce back in a big way. They were swept by the A's and then took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. So the Yankees they'll still be finely tuned by the time the playoffs get here. Bryce Harper, I know he's been much maligned because of the $330 million. He drove in his 100th run of the season with a single, and JT Realmuto had a pair of hits and a sacrifice fly at the Philadelphia Phillies. They won their 3rd game in a row Tuesday night. It was 6-2 over the Cincinnati Reds. I'm still not sold on the Harper. I know he's a media darling. I don't know why. The guy's only batted over 300 twice in 8 years, but he's still getting the $330 million. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, his contract is equivalent to what the Dallas Cowboys have played for their players here this offseason.
Yeah.
But you think about getting to that 100 RBI plateau. That means that you're being productive at the plate, that you're driving in teammates once they've gotten in the scoring position. He may not have the home runs and batting average, but the slugging percentage will get that 100 RBIs for you.
Yeah, that is part of. If you get that money, don't hit on nobody. It's just you wonder why some guys who don't bat at even 260 are getting that kind of money. But you can thank Scott Boras for that. Kurt Suzuki capped off the largest 9th inning comeback in the Nationals history. A game-ending 3-run homer, helping the Washington Nationals score 7 runs in the final at bat. They beat the New York Mets 11-10 on Tuesday, and that sounds like a low-scoring football game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, we might get some football games like that this Sunday, Charlton. But you think about trailing by 6 runs going into the 9th inning, and the Washington Nationals, they don't miss Bryce Harper this year. Even though Bryce has 100 RBIs with the Philadelphia Phillies, they have found ways with a total team effort, Charlton, to have some miraculous wins. And you think about that 7 runs that they put up in the 9th frame, Charlton. What an outstanding outing for the Nationals.
Well, the Nationals, it would be, since they came from Montreal, I thought we would see a World Series. I thought Dusty Baker was a good manager for them in Washington, D.C. for the Nationals. They got rid of him. And Dusty's, everywhere he's gone, they've been able to at least get into the playoffs, even the World Series. And then they thought that Harper would be the guy that would get them over the hump. And they have a good pitcher. They have a beautiful stadium. They even have POTUS that comes to games every now and then, from what I understand. But they're in the nation's capital. Why are they not America's team? They have everything going for them, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about that I-95 beltway there between Baltimore and Washington, D.C., Philadelphia is really not that far away. There's so much history there with Baltimore, and when the Nationals came back in there, Charlton, they had to find their own niche because they had been gone for so long.
Yeah.
So it's hard to become a darling when you haven't won a championship. The Redskins have won titles. The Bullets had won a title in the NBA before becoming the Wizards.
Yeah.
The Washington Capitals finally won a Stanley Cup a couple of years ago, Charlton. You have to win in major cities to become the darling of an area now.
Yeah, that's true. It'd be nice to see the nation's capital have more reason to stand behind baseball. Miguel Rojas hit a tying home run with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and then Garrett Cooper connected in the 10th inning as the Marlins rallied for a 5-4 victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates on Tuesday night. It ended their franchise record 15-game road losing streak. Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, these are guys that didn't want to leave home and go play a game. You think about losing 15 in a row on the road, but this is a franchise that's been struggling all year long. When you think about what Derek Jeter had done, he chipped off all the star power out of Miami, Charlton, and this is the team that had been decimated, and they've been fighting from behind all year. But, way to get the monkey off your shoulders after losing 15 in a row on the road.
Yeah, that's very good too, Big C. I want to just bring up the fact that there are teams in these beautiful ballparks, and I know everybody says we need a new ballpark. We got to have a better ballpark to compete. And you look at what the Marlins do in front of almost an empty stadium. I mean, they average probably less than 15,000 a game when you look at that. So it's not about the stadium. I know you mentioned how they had some people get rid of all the great players, but it's still a great city, Miami. I just still don't understand why they have a dome down there. And even the new stadium that they're building in Arlington for the Texas Rangers, Big C, they're putting a dome or retractable stadium too. I understand for the humidity, but I want to get one more thought on this Florida team. You know they won their 2 World Series when they played at the Joe Robbie Stadium, now Hard Rock Stadium. Big C, your thoughts?
Yeah, I believe it was in 97 and 2002 that they won World Series championships down there, Charlton. But you know how times have changed. I mean, when we look at the face of Major League Baseball and the money flow, how teams change, lineups change, Charlton, it's about having affordability. But some things never change, like the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers, Charlton. They've been able to keep those great franchises together and keep restocking.
Yeah, they keep restocking, Big C. Carlos Correa received a standing ovation Tuesday and hit his first appearance at Progressive Field since being diagnosed with leukemia, but he gave up a pair of 8th-inning home runs as the Chicago White Sox beat the Cleveland Indians by the score of 65. You think about this. We talk about overcoming things, whether it's racism or the Black Lives Matter or sexism, the Me Too movement or whatever ism there is. And somebody that's diagnosed with a cancer, it's an unfair disease. I don't know if you can call any disease fair. But for someone to deal with that, Big C, dealing with that and still producing in one of the most difficult sports in the universe, I tip my hat, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the toll that cancer takes on the human body, Charlton, is unparalleled by anything. But you think about the will and determination of an athlete, the will to win. Athletes don't give up easily, and you think about this fighting back after battling this horrific disease, Charlton, being able to compete on a major league level is just an outstanding feat. Yeah,
I tip my hat. What the great Jimmy V said, you just don't give up. Don't ever give up. I know with the science, there's a cure for so many things. They had so many cures from polio. We had Dr. Salk, we have that polio vaccine. A lot of people, I hope that cancer can be cured because we have so much science behind it. They've cured a lot of things, and I just pray for people and hope that science will step in also, and I believe it will soon, Big C. Nelson Cruz and Miguel Sano connected in the 5th inning to pat the Minnesota Twins record home run total. With the Twins beating the Boston Red Sox, it was 6-5 on a Tuesday night, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Twins are holding on to that Central Division lead in the American League, Charlton. But you think about the big bats that they possess. We've talked about the record number of Major League home runs this year. The Twins have set a Major League record as a team for home runs, and they're still going on. And they got another month to add to that total.
Yeah, it's amazing. Baseball, if you don't like baseball, start paying attention. Everybody's starting to put their heart mind, body, and soul into it. Zach Greinke lost his first game since joining the Houston Astros, giving up a 3-run homer to Eric Thames as the Milwaukee Brewers beat the Astros 4-2 on Tuesday. Even with that great pitching crew, anyone can be had. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that was only his first loss since joining the Astros, so you know he's been on top of his game. He's gotten a lot of run support since being there in Houston. Last night, they fell a little short, only producing 2 runs. But Houston has a strong command over the American League West.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love baseball, Big C. Russell Martin hit a go-ahead 3-run homer with 2 outs, and pinch hitter David Freese followed up with a solo shot in the 7th inning, and the Los Angeles Dodgers got the win over the Rockies 5-3 Tuesday night. This Dodger team, you know, sometimes watching a lot of MMA guys in boxing, they get punched in the stomach sometimes, and they get punched in the face. A lot of guys, they can come back from that. I think the Dodgers have been punched around by the Yankees, and they've found their confidence, and I think they're in a good spot now. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, anytime you can win a divisional game, and that's what they did against the Rockies, the Dodgers are in total command of the National League West with a 20-game lead out there, Charlton. They're a surefire cinch to be in the playoffs, and they're looking to get into the finals,
yep,
you know, in the National Leagues, and you see whoever's coming out of the East.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers, three-piece pretty tough. A lot of times things happen in threes. If they can get back to the World Series, that'll be 3. But they got to win it now. They're going to probably have an absence. Seth Brown hit his second RBI triple of the game, breaking a 6-inning tie. In a special home run debut, Matt Chapman hit a 3-run homer. And the Oakland A's beat the Los Angeles Angels 7-5 on Tuesday night. I guess you could call that the I-5 series from Oakland down to L.A. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, there's so many great teams out there in California. You got the Bay Area series with the A's and the Giants. You got the Southern California series with the Angels and the Dodgers. But the A's, they're trying to hang on to that wild card seat, Charlton, in the American League, and they're nipping at the heels of the Houston Astros.
Yeah, the A's are probably the best team that's not going to win the division. The big stories in Major League Baseball, Pete Alonso breaks the tie of the Mets rookie. He blasted his 45th home run of the season. And you think about this. This is amazing. Sometimes you have players that can hit, and sometimes you have players that can pitch. But when you have a guy like Alonso, Big C, I really like what he brings to the game. I think he's one of those players that you can count on every year. Even though he may not be a household name, he should be. He breaks a 3-way tie atop the Major League Baseball. The leaderboard entering today, Alonso was knotted with Mike Trout, Cody Bellinger at 44. And then you think about that. He's one above him now, but you think about Bellinger, you think about Trout. They're bigger names, Big C, your thoughts?
They are the big names, but you think about Alonso, he's just a rookie. He's a surefire bet for Rookie of the Year with the New York Mets, Charlton. He set a club record. He's going to set a major league. He's trying to set a major league record for rookies. We think about the outstanding year that Aaron Judge had in New York just a couple of years ago for the Yankees, when he belted over 50 home runs as a rookie. And we think about Alonso. He's on track to do that also. So you think about, there's something in the water in New York for rookie baseball players. And you talked about them being tied at 44 and he's taking the lead. The last time that there was a three-way tie at the top of the bomber board, Charlton, in baseball this late in the season was 1993. When you had the great Barry Bonds, the great Ken Griffey Jr. Of the Seattle Mariners, and Juan Gonzalez of the Texas Rangers, Charlton, all at the top of the leaderboard in a three-way tie in 1993.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just swinging the bat. There's something about swinging the bat and seeing the ball go over the fence. It makes people stand up. It gets the people going. It's provocative, Big C. So I love what we're seeing with baseball and football and the NFL kicking off tomorrow. But I want to step into the world of college football just for a moment. You think about the biggest battle in college football of Week 2 is number 6 LSU at number 9 Texas A&M. Actually, number 9 Texas. You have Joe Burrow versus Sam Ehlinger. A&M has a big game coming up too. But LSU and Texas, this is big on big. Athletic-wise, you might think Texas has a better reputation for a high school talent than Louisiana. But this team from LSU is loaded, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, LSU finally has a quarterback. You think about Sam Ehlinger in the opening game last week, for Texas. This is a guy that flies under the radar. But he has a complete game. He's a dominant running quarterback, and he's a very efficient passing quarterback. Everybody underrates him. You think about Joe Burrow at LSU. He passed for 5 quarterbacks in that 5 touchdowns in that opening win last week.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a big-time class, Charlton, the second week of the college football season. These are normally teams that you see face each other in the bowl games in the Big 12 and the SEC.
Yeah.
This is a game, Charlton, that will eliminate one of these teams from the college playoff chase.
Yeah, it's amazing. We all want to see the big game, and we're seeing it. But it's a shame we only have 4 spots. So that discourages teams from playing big games like this. Oregon opening up against Auburn, and then you have LSU playing Texas. And another big game coming up, Texas A&M, Kellen Mond. They head to Death Valley, and they're going to have to pay their taxes, Big C, because they're taking on Clemson. And people say, they talk about Kelly Lawrence and Trevor Lawrence, but I think Travis Etienne, he really is the one that sets the tone for Clemson more than Lawrence. That's my opinion, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at this game, Charlton, these two teams met early in the season last year. Clemson walked out with a 2-point win out of Kyle Field there at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Texas A&M is seeking revenge. There's an extra year under Jimbo Fisher's belt at the head coach at A&M.
Yeah.
Kellen Mond is another year under his belt at quarterback. So I see both of these quarterbacks dueling out. I look at Kellen Mond last week. He had an outstanding game, 4 touchdowns that he accounted for with Texas A&M in their opening victory. Trevor Lawrence struggled. Will he struggle again against A&M? If he does, Clemson could suffer an early season loss.
Well, Clemson's always close to losing one. If anybody can get them, if A&M wins this game, it's a shame that it's not going to help them in the SEC standings, Big C. And if they win this game, though, they might be overlooking their next opponent. I don't know. But this game is more important for Clemson than it is for A&M because they have really no one else to challenge them. And that can even hurt them if it comes down to several teams tied or undefeated at the end of the season. Jacob Eason, Washington Huskies head to Strawberry Canyon at Cal Berkeley. Will the Bears have enough to slow down the Huskies' high-powered offense? They struggled last week against UC Davis. The Aggies, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they really did struggle against a subdivision team, Charlton. They at home.
Yeah.
And now you got this high-powered Washington offense coming in. Washington hung 49 points last week on the scoreboard against Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
You think about this Washington team last year, Charlton, they only averaged 27 points a game with Brom at quarterback.
Yeah.
Now they got Eason. Eason accounted for 5 touchdowns. He's a big, tall, stand-in-the-pocket quarterback. And you think about him, he was the number 1 recruit out of high school 3 years ago when he came out of Seattle.
Yeah.
Going to University of Georgia. Now he's back home, feeling comfortable, Charlton. Can he run through the Pac-12 this year and get Washington into the playoffs?
You know, the Pac-12 would love to see Washington carry the torch more than Oregon because of the bigger TV market. And with USC, JT Daniels being hurt, even if the Trojans go on a good run, without your star quarterback, that's going to be tough for the Trojans. And then you look at Stanford. They still have to go down to in the humidity and play Central Florida. So, and they struggled with a close win at home, and the quarterback was knocked out of the game against Northwestern. I think Central Florida has more speed than Northwestern, but we'll see. So the hopes for the Pac-12, getting a playoff berth, and I know this makes you happy, Big C, you SEC biased people down there. The hopes for the Pac-12 getting a college playoff berth is the hands on Washington, Washington State, and Stanford. Yet they all face each other this season. And I still say before USC went down with Daniels being hurt, I would have thought the Trojans would be an outside chance. But now it's looking like it may fall on Washington. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you got Washington, Washington State. It could come down to the Apple Cup, Charlton, between those two teams, just like it did last season for the Pac-12 title.
Yeah.
You know, you got excellent programs up there with Peterson and Leach in the Northwest.
Yeah, I know Pac-12, I think I can speak for Mr. Scott. They don't want to see Washington State anywhere near representing Pac-12 in anything. That's my opinion. The market's too small. Mack Brown, did you see? They said white men can't jump, but they didn't say white men can't dance, Big C. Mack Brown was getting his groove on back at the helm for the North Carolina Tar Heels. They're 1-0. And then you look at Manny Diaz, University of Miami, the U. Well, they're 0-1. They face each other in week 2 of college football in a big ACC matchup. Can Mack Brown dance, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he learned something from being out of the game for 5 years, Charlton, sitting in the broadcast booth, watching the players get their groove on. So Mack came back home to North Carolina, Charlton, to revitalize that football program, and he got it off to a great start against South Carolina. You think about those two rival states going at each other, Charlton, and Mac Brown brought his Tar Heels out victorious.
Yeah.
Manny Diaz, we felt, would struggle down at Miami in that opening game against Florida. Florida was a heavy favorite in that game, and they did not disappoint. It was a very sloppy game. Can he get his players back on track, Charlton, after those first game jitters in that sloppy game, and can they be competitive against North Carolina?
Yeah, and you know they probably will be. See, college football has 4 early game matches on Friday. We have William and Mary at Wake Forest, and then you have Rice. Actually, William and Mary's at Virginia. Wake Forest is at Rice. Marshall is at number 24, Boise State. I think that's too low a ranking for Boise State. And then Sacramento State, they're at Arizona State. And Sacramento State, I think they scored 79 points in week 1. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about Sacramento State at Arizona State. Boise State is ranked. Arizona State in the Pac-12 is not ranked.
Wow.
So how much credence are they giving to the Pac-12 conference overall, Charlton, when you have undefeated teams out there that are not ranked? So that's what you're looking at going into the weekend.
Yeah, it's amazing. Pac-12 has got to step it up. And it's just a matter of time. They got to keep their players from going to the East Coast and keep their players from going to the South and keep their players on the West Coast, Big C. Some of the top quarterbacks from the SWAC, we always talk about SWAC football and how Eddie Robinson at Grambling, he's accounted for more players coming from college playing pro football than any coach in the universe. And now we want to also bring you on Big C Sports, talk about the WAC and the MEAC. So you look at the top quarterbacks from the SWAC football conference of week 1, Ahil Glass, Alabama A&M University, 28 of 42, 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He had more yards than Herbert out of Oregon, and also more than Lawrence out of Clemson, but nobody knows who he is, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's one of the problems, Charlton, with the HBC colleges and stuff, is that they don't get enough notoriety on television. There's some supreme athletes down there, and you think about it. They're playing against other African-American athletes, so you're talking about the skill set being in place.
Yeah.
But they don't get any notoriety on television. They don't get any invites to the draft combine. They're always being converted to defensive backs and wide receivers, Charlton.
Yep.
I wish they would give some of these great young men a chance. You think about some of the great quarterbacks that have come out of those universities. James Harris came out of there. Doug Williams has come out of there. Joe Gilliam have come out of these colleges, Charlton. Historical black colleges have produced NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's a lot, and it's just a matter of having the opportunity. And I think Big C Sports is going to lead. We're going to be the vanguards for that. No more. My parents used to tell me, if you have a complaint about anything, come with a solution. Don't just complain and leave. Have a solution. The solution is follow Big C Sports, because we won't ignore you. We understand what you're going through. Jalen Morton, Prairie View A&M University, 24-42, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I remember Aaron McNair out of Alcorn State, Big C. Also, you look about Doug Williams that played at Grambling State. These were 2 dominant NFL players. You didn't hear a lot about them in college, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about some of the greatest records held in college football, the greatest passing attack that ever existed in college football came out of Tennessee State, where Jerry Rice came from.
Yeah.
Where you had Willie Cotton at quarterback. They averaged 700 yards a game in offense and 60 points.
Wow.
So when you think about the productivity and athleticism that come out of these black colleges, Charlton, the athletes are there.
They've always been there. And another thing that's missing at times is the coaching is missing. The coaches are there, but if you don't get the opportunity, then you don't get a chance. It's a lot like Big C Sports. We're not saying we're any better than anybody else, but we are the only program. And I do challenge, because I've been in the business for a long time and work with all the major networks. We do our show extemporaneously. We're 3,000 miles away. I don't know what you look like. I can't read your mannerisms and what you're going to say. I don't even know. We just talk. But there are times when people of color with our talent, and it's a sad dog that won't wag his own tail. I'm not saying we're the best, but I know we're as good as anybody. If you can do a show where you can't see your partner, you don't really know what they're going to talk about, you can't see your partner's mannerisms, Big C. We don't have a script. We don't have a producer in our ear. We don't have the best microphones, but none of that stops us. And I think if you take that talent, it's like Hidden Figures in the movie. There's a lot of black talent all over this country in every opportunity. But if you keep waiting for mainstream to open that door, you may die waiting. And I mean that. If you have anything in your heart that you want to do, put your mind, your body, and soul into it. And when you're ready, the teacher will come. But sometimes that teacher has to be you. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Speaker. You can follow Big C Sports on YouTube. If you have a TV set in your home, you can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity Comcast Television. I really love the app called Alexa. Just say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors. You'll hear Welcome to the Show. I introduce Big C, and he'll do his thing. And I really thank all of our sponsors for their support and appreciation. But I love what you bring, Big C. I call you the Mystic. People say, man, why you call him the Mystic? And I say because all he has is his Bible and some libation when he does the show, but you can just pull things back out of history that a lot of people need research crews to do. Big C, top running backs from the SWAC football conference in week 1. Dwayne Tucker, Prairie View A&M, 11 attempts, 188 yards, 3 touchdowns. Big C, he chewed up 17.1 yards per touch. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about a running back with those astronomical numbers. You know, we looked at Travis Etienne at Clemson last week, Charlton, when he had 200 yards on 15 carries. And you're looking at Tucker here at Prairie View. We're talking about the same skill set, Charlton, amongst these great athletes. It's just one plays in a Power 5 conference, one plays in the SWAC, one plays on television, one plays in front of a small home crowd. Let the television networks expose these young men, Charlton, improve their draft stock, make their payday on draft day a little bit better. Let the country see how much talent there is in the HBC universities.
Yeah, and that's what we tell anyone in the universe that's following Big C Sports. Tell somebody about, if you want to hear your conference being covered, just follow Big C Sports. Just like Hidden Figures. It's out there, but you got to wag your own tail. Quit waiting for somebody to come wag it for you. Everything's competition. If you want something, you got to compete for it. Duran Bell, Alabama State University. 10 rushes, 112 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 11.2 yards to carry. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about that. You got 2 running backs that eclipse over 10 yards a carry in a game.
Yep.
That's exciting running. Not only that, you think about the running backs. Think about their offensive lineman, Charlton, that's paving the way for them. You got some young men that are not getting no notoriety, that weren't on any preseason All-American team, Charlton, that are NFL worthy. And if they get that shot, they got to go as a free agent or a late-round draft pick. They won't get that coveted first and second round money.
And the reason that is so important, Big C, is if you don't talk about it, and you brought it up before, if people say, well, we don't know about them, then it's easy not to draft them high, and they'll have to walk on it sometimes just to get that opportunity. That's why it's important to talk about it. Big C, your thoughts?
It is very important, Charlton. Exposure is the key element in all sports. You think about the NBA. They draft European players because they go over there and scout them.
Yep.
The NFL does the same thing in the U.S. They take these players from these historical black colleges. They go out and scout them. They don't draft them. They wait till the draft goes by and they say, look, hey, we'd like to bring you in as a free agent. They know that these players have the skill set to play at the NFL level, Charlton.
Yep.
But if you can get them for a free agent rookie contract versus a second or third round contract, Charlton, the team saves several $1 million in signing the player.
Yeah, and that's the same thing in getting a job. Sometimes I know a lot of my white friends that gotten a job by Bill calling Joe and Joe calling Dave and Dave calling Bob, and they all give somebody a chance. You got to knock that door open. Black College Football National Championship. The Black College Football National Championship is a national championship won by the best football teams among the historically black colleges and universities called the HBCUs in the United States of America. We want to talk about it all the time on Big C Sports. I'm very excited to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. We talked about college football. We know that NFL football kicks off on Thursday night with the Bears and the Packers. We look forward to that. Baseball is swinging the bat. Serena Williams, congratulations on 100, and we'll want to see you reach a lot more than that. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble. Big C, What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, you think about tomorrow night, 150 years in the waiting. Seems like only yesterday that the NFL started.
Yep.
But tomorrow will be the 150th season of this great game we call NFL football.
It's an amazing game. You got to want it, and you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, that's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.